Okay, so I know we've looked at, and I know I've directed you to the starting off, the getting started section. I want to take a minute here just to discuss the syllabus with you in brief. And then I would like in this one to also talk about the reading and response assignments that you'll see here in the upper tab as well. So I clicked on the syllabus and you'll see it comes down here, and I do have a couple versions of it. If you want to look at just the standard regular one, there is the full regular version right here, just in standard format. But I have a little bit more colorful one down here. So you'll see my name, Dr. Evans. You'll see my phone extension. You'll see my office location. And I am inside the English department, so there's actually a door between me and the outside. You'll also see my office hours. Typically, even though it says Monday 9 to 10, 1 to 2, most likely for the most part, since we meet at 6, I will be back up here in my office probably 5, 4 o'clock, somewhere in that range. So if you show up early, you can come talk to me if you need to. Now I have two email addresses mainly because the Claflin one from time to time seems to give me a lot of issues. So using the Gmail one, you'll see me use it a lot to communicate with you guys. Also, you'll probably see it quite a bit. And I recommend it if you need to send me something outside of our Moodle course, which I will have a video about that later on as well. And then of course you'll see the name of the website here that actually we're on. And of course, we have our course description. Of course, I want to go ahead and just note this is designed to help students develop the ability to write effectively and coherently with emphasis on organization. I typically see this as an exercise in Introduction to College Writing. Okay. Beneath here, you'll see some information. You can ignore the red. You do not need to worry about the Mind Edge information. I would recommend that if you get a chance to get your hands on perhaps the They Say, I Say. Otherwise, most of the other stuff I provide to you. There is some information here about the OWL at Purdue, access with internet, Bluebug, and that stuff. And if you have any questions when we do meet in class, we can discuss this at the time. Beneath here, we have the course rationale. And this is the idea of why we do this. And this roughly in a lot of ways aligns with my teaching philosophy, which is I want you guys to develop skills that will be useful in my class, but also skills that will be useful to you in other academic courses, and then ultimately and hopefully that there will be information you learn here that will be useful to you in a professional workplace or just in the real world in general. Okay. Course goals, course objectives. I'm not going to linger on any of this because I'm sure nobody wants to hear me talk about it. But if you come down here, you'll see the information. You'll see two course assignments. You need to pay attention here to the second one because this is the one that doesn't have the Mind Edge. So we'll scroll down. You'll see class attendance and participation is 15% of your grade. There's reading and writing assignments. This constitutes 25. We'll talk about these a little bit more in this video. Major essays. I'm going to have a separate video talking about narrative and descriptive essay, which we're going to go ahead and get started on. Analytical essay, expository essay, and then I need to correct this, and I have forgotten to do so, but there will be a response essay as the last one, not an argumentative. There will be a midterm, and then there will be your final exam will be two AccuPlacer exams, one reading and one writing. Again, if any questions develop concerning any of this, please bring them to my attention either by email or in class. Down here, of course, ultimately, we do have some course policies and decorum. Read the textbooks. Students are required to use a Claflin email account, but I am okay if you don't use a Claflin email account. Plagiarism, which we'll talk more about in just a second. Students will write at least 4 compositions. We noted that earlier. Maintain electronic files. If you've not done so, or if it's not something you've made a habit of, I recommend doing so. I used to use a lot of flash drives. Now I use a lot of Google Drive. It's just great not only to maintain your files, but to back things up and have ready access to them. Attend class regularly. We'll get back on track with that. And then participate in discussions. And then ultimately the last bit here is about late work, and I'll talk more about that somewhere else. Cell phones and things of that nature. So that covers most of that. I'm going to scroll back up here, and then underneath here I have some appendixes. You can find the same information if you paid attention down here as well under different sections. So let's say if I go to say, Appendix A, these are just some tips and guideline stuff. Most of this is boilerplate stuff, but these are things I find that usually students who do these do well in my classes. Reading the syllabus, pay attention to syllabus changes, which I will notify you of if that happens. Purchase your textbook, pay attention to the schedule, attend class regularly, and I've got more detail in here too. Contribute in class, complete course assignments, Turn in assignments on time. Now, I want to just briefly talk about this, and if anybody has questions, please bring them to my attention. I do not accept late work, but I have two caveats, two exceptions. The first exception is if something happened and you come and talk to me in person, one-on-one, and I will then decide whether to let you turn it in. The second way this can go down is that typically, but always, mainly, my assignments are due at 11:59 p.m. at the end of some day. So a Friday, a Saturday, a Sunday, whenever it is. But even though that's when they're due on Moodle, if for some reason something happens with Moodle, as long as it is emailed to me and in my inbox before 8 a.m., it's not late. So if you think about that, one, if something happened, you come and talk to me and I consider that it was a valid reason and I'll let you turn it in. Or two, if you somehow ran out of time, something happened with Moodle, the internet, electricity, whatever it might be, remember that there's basically an 8-hour window to get it emailed to me and it's still not late, and therefore I will grade it. Okay? Keep a professional attitude. Communicate with your instructor, so keep in touch with me about things that are going on. Use the Writing Center. We have a Writing Center here on campus. I would recommend that people use it if they get a chance. I'm a big fan of an advocate of it. Remember that all writing is public. This is basically a reminder to sort of keep in mind that when you write the things that you write, other people are going to read it. And then follow the assignment directions, so keep an eye on that. And then beneath here I have some rules, just some general ideas to help you guys with email etiquette, which is in of itself just a really valuable skill. Okay. I do have rubrics here. This is the general rubric I use for your course assignments. It's going to let me go there at all. Now it decides not to work for me, but who knows. Underneath here I do have one about the Writing Center as well. So there's the rubric. There is one about the Writing Center, and then there is some discussion about exceptions and additional policies. But we'll skip ahead and look at the university one. So here's some information about the Writing Center. You can make appointments online. Ms. Kelly is a fantastic person. They have fantastic people working over there. And I really want to emphasize the idea that the Writing Center should not be seen as a place you go because you're not good at writing. It is for people who are not as good at writing as they want to be or could be, but it is also a resource for people who are great writers. In fact, I can tell you, if you ask many stories of colleagues of mine when I was getting my PhD who went to the Writing Center and used it, I used it during my time. I've worked in it. It's a great place to go. It's a great resource. It's not some sort of badge of shame or anything like that. Of course, the last thing I want to talk about here is institutional policies. So be aware about class attendance, early alert. Early alert basically means if you're falling behind and you're not attending class, I will notify you that you may be contacted by the Academic Success Center. Of course, class attendance, make sure you come to classes. We only meet technically once a week. We'll get this more on track. Hopefully we'll get that down. Just try not to be excessive about it. If for some reason you need accommodation or anything like that, please contact Disability Services. And then here's some information about the Academic Honesty Code, about academic dishonesty, cheating, collusion, plagiarism, and the possible sanctions of that can be quite serious. So please do not let that, and I don't think it will be an issue. All right, the last thing I want to cover in this video is I'd like to talk to you about the reading and responses. If you remember the course syllabus, I noted that this is 25% of your grade. So you're going to do a total of 8 of these. You're going to turn them in 2 at a time, okay? And now the due date for 1 and 2, if you look here on the deadlines, is actually coming up quite soon. You are not going to be held to this date because we're running a little behind. I'm going to give you an probably extra week. In fact, I may simply just fold yours into the first 4 and have you turn them all in October. So I handed out the second one today to my in-class students I've been with so far. And so they have the first 2. I'm thinking for you guys, we'll just push it back and you'll just turn in the first 4 all together. So as a halfway mark, maybe around midterm. And these can be found under the Reading and Responses. And I have 2 of them up already. So if you want to go ahead and go in here and start taking a look at these and start working on them, you are more than welcome to do so. I'm a little worried that the internet connection in my office now might be not working. But the reading responses can be found under here, so we may have to come back to those in a later video. But like I said, the first 2 are up. There they are. And the first one I have, they're both comic books you'll be reading. Action Comics #1, and what I'm asking you to do is to read the comic book, and I have it here, a digital file. All right, and read the first comic about Superman. And in 2 to 3 paragraphs, I want you to respond to the following 2 questions. The first one asking you, what did you think about Superman before you read this comic book, and what did you think, or have you altered or changed any of your views about him since? You'll see the first 2 that they're coming up due for my current students, but like I said, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a push on time, and so you will turn yours in on October 5th here. And then the second one is the first appearance of Batman, and again, I have 2 questions, so these would need to be typed up. And ultimately, I would want you to turn these in as one document, but I'll post more specific details about that later on. And I have digital copies, and then I have some follow-up information about Batman's origin and creation. But I do want to encourage any of you, and it would appear here for you guys, to go ahead and make sure that you are following the blog so you will get updates. In the next video, I'm going to talk to you guys about the first essay and getting us off the ground with that. So look for that video soon. Thank you.